All right. Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the Middle East Forum's weekly podcast series. My name is Anaf Kalam, and I will be moderating today's discussion. We are pleased to be joined by Zvi Hauser, National Security Specialist and former Deputy Speaker of the Israeli Knesset, joining us today to discuss the Middle East's historic moment. Mr. Hauser will speak for 15 minutes, followed by 15 minutes of Q&A from the audience. If you wish to ask a question, please feel free to use the Q&A box located at the bottom of your screen to type your question. And with that, I will turn the discussion over to Zvi Hauser. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you so much. First of all, thank you to have the privilege to be your guest here. And one special thanks to Daniel Pipes and Greg that know them for many years. And I'm so happy to be involved for many years on the Middle East Forum initiatives. It's a bit difficult, to take 15 minutes about the situation now in the Middle East. These are historical moments, so I'll try to do my best, but I also just passed kind of in a paper that I hope that will be soon published and share with all of you that give much more vast interpretation and explains about the current situation and what will mainly lead to the situation that we face now in the Middle East. So practically, bottom lines, can say that October 7 was a day they shocked Israel. On the basic numbers, if we can say that, there was more than 1,200 people were killed around the Gaza Strip. There was around 4 areas that was really a huge bloodsheds and another around 45 kibbutzim, other settlements or towns that was clashes that people were attacked. I always said that was hours or a day that one civilization that watch Netflix in the afternoon, recycling plastic, eat organic food, meet for one day or a few hours, a civilization that their attitude and their values is to kill the children, babies, rape women. And this is really a disaster and a unique disaster example about how a meeting between two civilizations. This is not only a local story. This is not only a national Israeli story. This is something that refer and connect to all the free society in the free world. As I said, 1,200 people were killed, around 10,000 were injured, 250, a little bit more, were kidnapped to Gaza. And it starts a war. But what's happened in that day, and it's only those things that you heard, but mainly what I see, that the Israeli strategy of deter were hurt. I used to say that Israel is a small country, less than 10 million people, that's surrounding of almost 500 million people. Most of them, most of the time, don't like the idea that Israel is there. But I think from maybe 1973, in the last 50 years, more and more people in the Middle East understand that Israel is a fact, and there is no chance to fulfill those dreams of destroyed Israel, kicked out all the Jews to the sea, and Israel is strong enough to defense itself by itself. The main issue, the main challenges that happened in October 7, that some people, some organizations, some countries start to think or rethink about those fantasies, about those ideas that Israel can be destroyed if there will be kind of a comprehensive attack and the countries and the organization, the armies that lead by the Iranians will conduct in the right way and attack Israeli on the right time and on the right place. By the way, and we'll be back to this issue. I think the main initiative or the main reason to those attacks were not only to kill Jewish people, but also to put two things on the table. First of all, the fact that Palestinians can lead to something big in the region, because till then most of the countries in the region thought that Palestinians are not relevant anymore to the Israeli issues and Israeli things. Second, I think initiative that push and lead by the Iranian, and the Iranian were very nervous about that. The process that they see that Israel will go on with the Abraham Accord and join the Saudis to a formal strategy as a formal ally strategy that including the Emirates and the Bahrain and others countries in the region, that I always say that see Israeli as the part of the solution of the problems in the region and not as a problem of the region. This change of the position, Israeli position in the state of mind of those Arab countries lead to Iranian to do something to try to change this history. And that was one of the reasons that make the Iranian ideas to lead the area for non-stabilized situation. Back to what's happened and what's the problem, as I say. Oh, sorry, another one word that I want to emphasize, that not only the war or the clashes were between Palestinians and the Israelis, and that's, as I said, connect to much vast pictures. And I think that bottom line, we see the Middle East, the current war between Israel and the Hamas is a piece of much larger struggle, that in one side stand the Iranians with their proxies around, and they are backing by Russia. Iran and Russia relationship in the last few years become a strategic relationship. Iran support Russia in their act and steps in the war in Ukraine. Iran become the most important ally of Russia and the most important weapon supplier to Russia in this war. And vice versa, when we see the situation in the Middle East, we see that the Russian prefer more and more the Iranian interest in the region. even it's against the Israeli interest. And the flow beyond or up from that, we see kind of a Chinese attitude versus the American sentiment that is always support Israel. So it's mean that the Chinese will prefer the other side. So what we see in the Middle East now, it's clashes between two sides that connect to much bigger picture that we see clashes in other places in the world, and we may see these things and other fronts in other places in the world. It's mean that the result of the war between Israel and the Hamas, this is not only Israeli interest, this is not only our internal issue, but this is important and relevant to other areas in the world in the future, and to deter, and sorry to use this, is to say the Ronald Reagan wording, the good guys against the bad guys. It's important for the good guys to win in this war, not only because of this war, because if we want to prevent other wars or a big war in the Middle East, or another war in other areas. About the big war in the Middle East, and I want to summarize this point, I always say that sometimes we can see countries' strategy. It's sometimes very similar to a bank strategy. And bank, they have a kind of their own capital, I don't know, 20%, 15%, 25% their own capital, and they can give some loans for another 75%. If I compare this concept to a state, special our situation in the Middle East, Israel has, 25, 30% capabilities, and 70% deterred their enemy. As I said, the enemies were afraid from Israel. What's happened on the October 7, that there is a big question mark about this kind of structure. And the most problematic thing is that they no more afraid from Israel as it was before October 7. So it's lead Israel to do two things. One is to enhance their capabilities and grow, invest a lot of money in defense budget, and make our army stronger and better. But second, is not enough, is to bring back the deterred aspect. It means we must win in the war, because if we will not win in the war, it will invite another round in the future in the Middle East. They will develop an appetite to fight against Israel. And the big question is if the winning in Gaza war will be enough to come back to the position or the status quo that we were before the war, or the situation that now happened in the north of Israel, in the northern border, with the clashes with the Hezbollah. It means that we will need or will have to deal with that to bring back this stable to the stable point, to the stable situation. So those are the challenges that stand in front of us, and I hope, as I start and I said, that we can success. So that was around maybe 15 minutes, try to do in a nutshell give a background for much bigger and much more complicated topics. But the floor is yours, and maybe we'll hear now some questions.
All right. Well, thank you for that discussion. It was very insightful. We do have some questions rolling in. The first comes from Stephen Orlow, who asks, have the events following October 7th virtually eliminated any hope of destroying the Iranian nuclear program before Iran actually develops a deliverable nuclear weapon?
That's an important question, and one of the things that I'm worried, and that's as we are all focused on the war in Gaza and on the clashes and those complicated situations. I see how the Iranian put kind of pressure and run to try to achieve more capabilities on the two aspects, on the nuclear or non-conventional capabilities that try to achieve this under the radar, and also on the conventional capabilities. We have to understand that the Iranian weapons that now use in Ukraine by the Russians give the Iranian army and the Iranian state a great experience that upgrade their conventional capabilities and weapons. So we can see how Iran run fast in both sides. And in one aspect, I must say that when we are asking ourselves, what is the right timetable to how to say solve our problem in the northern border, it's mean to even decides to be proactive against the Hezbollah capabilities in the northern border. We have to ask ourselves what is the right timing, if it's now, or we again let our enemies to choose the right timing to start the war. And I'm afraid that if we will not do something proactive in the time that is better for us, the enemy, the Iranian, will choose the time to start a war with Israel in a situation that they can introduce to the world kind of non-conventional capabilities or can make kind of a rumors about capabilities that will lead to much more complicated situation in a war because the Iranian will join the front, and we will find ourselves maybe fights not only against the Hezbollah in Lebanon, but also with a full front against conventional attack from Iran against Israel.
Right, well, thank you. The next question we have comes from J.R. Pride, who asks, do you think the calls for ceasefire between Hamas and Israel come from a very narrow view of what's happening in the Middle East? How can Israel negotiate with people who openly advocate for their destruction?
Yes, I don't think that the Israeli has the option to finalize this situation in Gaza without a pure and a clear victory. Not like on the previous rounds that we were much more flexible to play with the result, if I can say. As I explained before, we must win in this war, because if we will not win in this war, our neighbors will understand that this Hamas, that is one of the weakest military power in the Middle East, won Israel. It's mean that others or a big war that will include multi-front attacks, attacking from the north, from the south, from Syria, from Iraq, from Iran, will lead to a great victory on Israel. So we don't have any option or to win. It's a question, what does it mean winning? I wrote about it, as I said, in a paper that I hope that will publish very soon. You can read it. But bottom line, we must have a clear winning in this.
All right, thank you. We have quite a few questions coming in regarding the American-Israeli relationship and the strain that's being put on it with the operations going on in Gaza. Here's a question from Vicky Cohn. She asks, "This is a war against the whole West, and the West is very weak. Our allies are not anymore so much on our side as before," in reference to Biden and his ridiculous statement about a two-state solution. So, how do you see things turning around so that the West becomes decisive and strong again?
First of all, it's a good question that is not only relevant to the Israel, but we all have to ask ourselves those questions. But I will tell you two things. First of all, about this two-state solution, that one key aspect of this debate is even if there were people who support this idea, in the end of the day, that for their basic ideas, two-state solution as the best formula that will make Israel a better place to live or safer place to live, we cannot accept an idea that after this brutal attack of the Hamas against Israel, it will be finished with historical victory or historical achievement for the Palestinian side. We cannot give to those evils that did an unreasonable attack that is not, I say, it's not something that we see in the 21st century, that bottom line, this attack will lead to a two-state or to achieve a Palestinian state. So even those who come with what we call left ideas have to understand that now is not time to give price to terror. And now it's not time to do something that will lead the people in the Middle East understand and believe that violence achieve a strategic interest. So that's one thing. Second, as I said, that we have to understand that this war is a part of, as I said, much bigger picture, that it's not only Israeli interest to win this. I believe that the Chinese see how this will be finished, and I believe that this is influenced directly about what will be in Taiwan in the future. And, I think I said this in one of the meetings that I met in New York with the Friends of the Forum, that I said that I had a lot of meetings with friends from America in the past years. And 3 years ago, I came with meets with some American diplomats and people and said, look, you will meet 3 challenges in the next few years. One is in the issue between Russia and Ukraine. That was before the war. Second is China-Taiwan, and third is Iran and the nuclear bomb. And I told them, look, America as in a position of the good guys and, the policeman of the world must do something to prevent instability on those 3 issues. I don't see a preemptive attack of America in Russia Ukraine issue. This is very, very complicated because Russia is a nuclear superpower. I don't see a preemptive or proactive act of the Americans in the issue of Taiwan, China, because of the same reason. The place that America can do something serious, important, relevant, not only for the region, but for the future of the free world is against the Iranian initiatives to reach a nuclear bomb. This is not only prevent the Iranian from reaching a nuclear bomb, this also prevent kind of a process that we'll see immediate after the Turkey, Egypt, Saudis will want to achieve these weapons if the Iranians will have it. And as I said, it will deter the Russian to do things in Ukraine and deter the Chinese to do things in Taiwan. That was 3 years ago or something like that. But unfortunately, America decides not to do nothing against Iran and the their nuclear initiatives. And what we see now in Ukraine, what we see now in Gaza, and what we may see in other places in the world in the future is a result for a misunderstanding or understanding of the bad guys about the weakness of the good guys.
Oh, thank you. And on that note, we have a question from an anonymous attendee who asks, Biden and Obama both have tried to get along with Iran. What does Iran have to do to cross the line? What about Saudi Arabia, who's been at odds with Iran for leadership of the Arabs in the Middle East?
Look, that's again, as I said, that I don't believe that the Iranians will play the game by the rules that we all accept and adopt. They are playing the games with total different rules, and we have to understand that. So I believe that the strategy of the, goodwill that depends on goodwill from the Iranian sides not lead to a stability in the Middle East. And I believe also that the Saudis watch the play and try to understand where the free world or where the world that lead by America, by the United States, is going to. We see that the Chinese try to do some maneuvers and do kind of an agreement between Saudis and Iran, and the Chinese has interest in both sides, in the both countries. They really needs and the Saudis, they needs the Iranians, and bottom line, I believe that as much as we, I say the good guys, will be clear and cut and do the right things against violence, against those countries who not conduct by the rules and not support the peace. As long as we deal with them on the right way, Saudis will be convinced to join us and to join this side of the world and go on with on the right direction. If we will make mistakes by our relations vis-a-vis Iranians, and I must mention the Aramco attack, the Iranian that attacked the Saudis' oil infrastructure of Aramco, that America didn't do nothing at that time. This kind of sign will not lead to a peaceful world. This kind of not to react, not will lead to unstabilized situation in the Middle East and unstabilized situation in the world.
All right. Well, thank you. We have unfortunately come to the end of our podcast today. I'm very sorry we couldn't answer everybody's questions. There were some really good ones coming in. But thank you again, Zvi, for joining us today. It's been a great pleasure.
Thank you so much, and thank you to the participation. And as I said, thank you so much for the forum to accept and host me in this podcast. And I wish you all good luck.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
So, for our viewers, please join us on Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time for our Israel Insider podcast with Ashley Perry. We thank you again for joining us, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. Thanks.